What's good everyone, it's Kajani with a crafting and gathering guide for Final Fantasy XIV patch 7.4. This guide will go over all the new quality of life that was introduced in this patch, as well as cover the crafting macros used to craft the Courtley Lover's Gear set. 7.4 added several long-awaited quality of life updates. We can now simultaneously repair all our gear with a click of a button. Repair all inventories will repair all currently equipped items, items stored in your armory chest, and items stored in your inventory. It lets you know how many dark matter fragments that you'll need, then it gets to work. It goes category by category to repair your gear until it's finished. If I were to rank all the quality of life we've gotten in Dawn Trail thus far, the Repair All Inventories button could easily land in the top 10. Once the repairs are complete, you can see how many items were repaired in your chat. The confirmation prompt when extracting materia has finally been removed. You can now seamlessly extract the materia that was spirit bonded to your gear. To me, it was just odd that the game would have this extra hurdle just to extract materia. Obviously I want to because that's why I pressed the button in the first place. When I did a little research though, the prompt dates back all the way to 1.0 when apparently extracting materia would break your gear. Which sounds so crazy to me because why would that be a feature in the first place? If you happen to play in 1.0 and you have some additional insight to how this worked, please let me know in the comments of the video. Hopefully in the future, there will be an extract all for materia similar to the repair update. Trial Synthesis has been updated with a feature that lets you set a starting quality as well as an option to set conditions to always be normal. This update will help when you're testing out crafting macros or determining if your gear can craft something in the first place. This is something that has been requested for a very long time, so I'm glad it's finally in the game. The time that you spend immobile after gathering has been reduced. If you do any gathering at the start of 7.4, you will immediately tell the difference. I am glad it was reduced because being able to move right after gathering will help with anything with a time limit like gathering in Aether Sand windows or cosmic exploration missions. All my big fishers and anyone who fishes in general will be happy with patch 7.4. You can now change your bait while mounted. With this update, you can multitask and head to your destination while making sure that you're using the correct bait before you land. In 7.4, you may now choose to receive only normal quality items when desynthesizing. Sometimes when you are using desynthesis, you really don't care if you get something that's normal quality or high quality. So this is just one way to spare your inventory of any unnecessary clutter. You can now revisit previous crafting and gathering quests using New Game Plus. This includes all the crafting and gathering job quests from A Realm Reborn to Stormblood, the Crystalline Mean quests, Studium deliveries, and the Waku Meki Meki role quests. I really can't wait to revisit some of these storylines. I think these quests are really underrated because they expand on the lore of each respective expansion. They feature stories that range from wholesome to outright hilarious, like the level 60 Culinarian job quest. Let me know in the comments what were your favorite crafting and gathering quests, or what quest are you looking forward to revisiting. In 7.4, Cosmic Exploration received a lot of updates. Aethernet shards have been placed on the moon as well as Faena. In 7.41, Aethernet shards will be placed on Oasis as we develop the planet. On Faena, for example, there are Aetherite shards that'll make it easier to get to wherever you want to go. I really like this because the hoverboard was cool, but it becomes tedious when you had to take 2, 3, or even 4 to get to your destination. If expert recipes aren't your thing, you can now avoid them without accepting the mission. When undertaking stellar missions, a message will now be displayed if the mission requires expert recipes. The most exciting update to Cosmic Exploration is that you can now earn a gold star after completing a mission in Class A or higher, or by completing provisional missions. Each consecutive mission you complete at a gold star rank will add to your gold count. The gold count will progress from 1 to 5, and starting at 2 gold stars, you will begin to earn additional rewards. There will always be a prompt before you start the mission that'll tell you how many gold stars that you have, and it's also indicated on the Cosmo tablet. The gold star buff will provide increased rewards for currency, Starward standing contributions, and drone bits. Drone bits are something that will be introduced in patch 7.41 along with Oasis. Chaining missions together using the gold star buff will at least make farming for currency a lot easier. Maybe I'll see more players around with the Space Giraffe, which cost 29,000 Cosmo credits. Hopefully in the last phase of Cosmic Exploration, they add a buff for class points. That way, it could make getting the 500k class points for all Disciple of Hand and all Disciple of Land achievement a little easier. Let's go over the crafting macros to craft the Courtley Lovers gear set, accessories, and weapons, starting with the crafting macros for their pre-craft materials, which have a 5622 difficulty. If you're using either the high tier melding or the mid tier melding, you will need to use high quality pebre in order for the crafting macro to work. Alright, so the crafting macro is going to start with muscle memory. That's going to buff our increases to progress. Then we're going to do manipulation. That's going to help us save durability. Then we're going to do veneration. And the veneration together with the muscle memory is going to buff our next progress increasing action. But before we increase progress, we're going to use Waste Not 2. The Waste Not 2 together with manipulation is going to help us save durability throughout the craft. Alright, so now that we have everything set up, the veneration and the muscle memory are going to buff this next groundwork. Alright, and then we're going to do one more groundwork, and then now we are pretty much one step away from completing the craft. So now let's switch over to the quality phase, starting with innovation. And then with these 4 steps of innovation, we're going to use preparatory touch 4 times. Each time we use preparatory touch, we're going to get 2 stacks of inner quiet. So after this, we're going to have 8 stacks of inner quiet. So that's the first one. Here's the second, third, and the 4th preparatory touch. Alright, so we're basically out of durability now. So in order to complete the craft and save durability along the way, we're going to start off with manipulation. Then we're going to use trained perfection, and then when I use trained perfection, since it doesn't use durability, I'm actually going to gain 5 durability because manipulation is active. The crafting macro is going to then use great strides and then innovation, and since those job actions don't use durability, I'll be gaining 5 durability because manipulation is active. I'm going to use preparatory touch, and normally it would break the craft, but since I have trained perfection up, I'm not going to lose any durability. So I'm going to use preparatory touch, no durability loss, and then now the crafting macro is going to use another preparatory touch. Alright, so the manipulation helped me save durability there, so now I only have 10. So the crafting macro is now going to set up the quality finisher of great strides. Innovation was already active, so now we're going to use Bear God's Blessing. This is going to leave us at 94% and then 1 step away from completing the craft. So the crafting macro is going to use Delicate Synthesis, which increases both quality and progress. So let's use Delicate Synthesis, and then we're going to hear every crafter's favorite sound, and we are done. For the Courtley Lovers gear set, weapons, and accessories, the crafting macros require high quality pre-craft materials. If you're using the high tier melding, you will need to use high quality gem saps, high quality level 98 pre-craft material, and at least 1 high quality pre-craft material that was released in 7.4. Let's go over an example. In order for the crafting macro to work, you will need high quality cunning Tizane, and then also high quality pebre. Also, you will need your gold's thumb tool. So alright, now my stats are good, and let's go ahead and start crafting. So we'll pull up the recipe. I'm going to craft a ring, so I'm going to use the maximum amount of gem saps, 1 level 98 crafting material, and 1 crafting material that was released in 7.4. So the crafting macro is going to start with reflect first, so that's going to increase quality a little bit while also giving me 2 stacks of inner quiet. I'm then going to use delicate synthesis. That's going to increase quality and as well as progress and give us a stack of inner quiet. Now I'm going to use veneration. The veneration is going to increase our next progress increasing job actions. So we're going to use 2 delicate synthesis, which is going to increase progress as well as increase quality and give us some stacks of inner quiet. So now we have 5. Our next job action that we're going to use is Prudent Synthesis. It's going to increase progress while also saving durability. So Prudent Synthesis, and then we're going to follow that up with a Groundwork. With this last step, the last step of Veneration is going to buff the Groundwork. Now we have 5 durability, so let's restore all of that with Immaculate Mend. We're going to follow that up with Great Strides, then Innovation. Together, they're going to buff this next Preparatory Touch. So let's go ahead and use Preparatory Touch. That's going to bring me to 7 stacks of Inner Quiet, and in order to get 10, I'm going to use the 1-2-3 quality combo of Basic Touch, Standard Touch, and then Advanced Touch. When you use the job actions in the combo, it reduces the CP cost of the next job action to 18. So let's go ahead and use Advanced Touch. And then we're going to follow that up with a Trained Perfection. So our next job action is not going to reduce durability at all. So Trained Perfection, we're going to use Great Strides, Innovation, and then together those two are going to buff our next Preparatory Touch. And then we're not going to lose any durability because of Trained Perfection. Alright, so the crafting macro is pretty much done. So what we're going to do now is Great Strides, we're going to set up our finisher. Innovation is already active, so Great Strides. And then we're going to do Beer God's Blessing. Alright, so we see our 100% bar there, love to see it. Alright, so let's finish up the craft. So the crafting macro is going to use Immaculate Mend to get all of our durability back. Alright, and then now we're going to use Veneration, which is going to buff our progress increasing job actions. We're going to start off with a Careful Synthesis. That's going to inch our progress a little further. And then we're going to use 3 Groundworks, and that's going to take us home. So let's go ahead and use Groundwork. 1, that's the second one, and then the third one, and we are done. Spreadsheet that contains all of the crafting macros for both the mid-tier and the high-tier melding. So in order to access the crafting macros, you're going to click on the Teamcraft link, and it's going to take you to the Teamcraft simulator. Just gotta wait a second for it to load. We're going to close that out. And then what you're going to do is you're going to click on, wait, that took a while. You're going to click on the Convert to In-Game Macro. And then here are the macros here. So you're just going to copy and paste this into the game. And then that's pretty much it.